The heat pressed down hard on the land, the kind that made the air feel thick. Dust sat still on the ground, untouched, like the world had paused. Somewhere nearby, a windmill turned with a tired groan. Nothing else moved. She was tied to a fallen tree just off the road, close enough that a house stood within sight, close enough that safety should have been possible. Her wrists were bound tight, the rope biting into her skin. Her dress was torn and dirty, clinging to her like it had been dragged through the dirt. She wasn't hidden. She was left there on purpose, where someone would see her and remember. Her head shifted slightly against the rough bark. Dry lips moved. "Don't do that, please." It wasn't loud. It wasn't sudden. It sounded like something she had already said before, like shouting hadn't helped, so she didn't try anymore. The road was quiet, but a horse slowed as it passed. Leather creaked softly. Hooves stopped. The silence stretched, heavy and uncomfortable, the kind that makes your chest tighten before your mind understands why. The man didn't rush. He sat still on the saddle for a moment, eyes fixed on the rope. Years had taught him that quick moves only made bad things worse. He slid down slowly, boots crunching dry earth, keeping his hands where she could see them. He didn't ask questions. He didn't touch her, not yet. He set his hat on a fence post and placed his canteen on the ground, just close enough for her to notice. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, his voice low and steady. Her eyes lifted, then moved past him, toward the house in the distance. He stepped closer, careful, like you would around a scared animal. The rope looked new, too clean, not something pulled off a ranch wall. That detail stayed with him. When he finally knelt, he moved slow, easing his knife under the rope. Her breath caught. "Don't," she whispered. "I'm cutting you loose," he said. "Easy now." The rope gave way. Her arms fell heavy, like they forgot how to move. He leaned back and waited. No promises, no words he couldn't keep, just calm and time and the space she needed to breathe again. As he worked the knife free, his eyes stayed on the rope, not the knots, the rope itself. It was clean, too clean. No dirt ground into the fibers, no fraying at the ends. This wasn't something pulled off a post and reused 100 times. This was new, bought rope, the kind that comes from a store, not a ranch.
He let the cut ends fall into the dust and noticed the marks around the tree. Boot prints pressed deep into the ground, heels dug in, toes turned, like someone had stood there for a while, waiting, watching. This wasn't done in a hurry. He didn't say any of it out loud. He didn't need to. He just looked once toward the house in the distance and back at the rope on the ground. He folded that detail away in his mind, the way a man does when he knows something isn't finished yet. When it was time to move her, he didn't lift her like a burden. He brought the wagon close instead and laid down blankets, turning his back while she shifted, giving her what little privacy the open land allowed. He didn't rush her. He didn't watch. He waited. Once she was settled, he handed her water without pushing it into her hands. She drank slowly, like someone used to being told to stop. He offered bread and dried meat. She ate in small bites, eyes lowered, chewing carefully, as if taking too much might cost her later. They rode in silence, no questions, no telling her she was safe forever, just the steady sound of wheels and the horse's calm steps. When they reached his place, he showed her a chair, poured more water, and stepped away. Kindness came through what he didn't do as much as what he did. She spoke while he was rinsing his hands at the basin, not all at once, just pieces spaced out, like she was testing which words were safe to say. She told him who tied the rope. She didn't use his name at first. She didn't have to. The way she said it made it clear this was someone who believed he had the right. "He said the child wasn't his," she said. Her voice stayed level. No tears, just tired. She stared at the table, not at him. "He said people had been talking." He waited, let the quiet sit. "She said people needed to see." That was all. She didn't explain how long she'd been there or what she'd thought about while she waited. She didn't need to. The cruelty wasn't loud. It was planned, and that made it worse.
Night settled in, slow and thick. The land went quiet in a way that made small sounds feel sharp. Later, when the lamps were low, something rattled near the fence. Just once, then again. Soft, careful. He didn't grab his gun. He moved to the door and looked out without hurrying. The yard sat empty, but near the corral, a length of rope hung over the post, looping down like it had been placed there on purpose. The same rope, clean, new. He cut it free and laid it flat in the dirt. No shouting, no chasing shadows. He locked the door, set the shotgun where it belonged, and took his seat. Inside, she watched him, her hand resting on her stomach. "They know where you are now," she said. He nodded. Fear didn't come from an attack. It came from the knowledge that someone was close enough to leave a message and walk away. Morning came clear and bright, like the night had meant nothing. The sun climbed fast, washing the land in light and heat. He stood by the road with a cup of coffee gone cold in his hands, eyes fixed on the dust path that led toward town. "We're going in," he said at last. She looked up from the table, shoulders tight. "Where?" "Where people are awake," he said, "where they can see." She didn't answer right away. Her fingers wrapped around the cup until her knuckles went pale. Running had crossed her mind, hiding too, but hiding was what had almost broken her. She nodded once. The wagon rolled out slow and steady, dust rising behind them. Neither of them looked back. The plan wasn't to disappear, it was to be seen, out in the open, where lies had to stand up straight. Town was already stirring when they arrived. Doors opened. Heads turned, not staring, just noticing. That was enough. A man stepped forward before they could reach the far end of the street. Clean coat, calm face. He held out folded paper like it settled things by itself. A deputy stood beside him, hand resting near his belt. "She belongs with her husband," the deputy said, tapping the page. The words were neat. The seal clean, the kind of paper that makes crowds comfortable. A few people nodded, others stayed quiet. He took the paper and read it, all of it. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't argue. He just looked at the lines and the names, then folded it back the same way it had been given to him. Behind him, she shrank a step, like the paper could reach out and grab her. The street leaned in, waiting. The law stood on ink. The truth stood on her shaking breath. The street filled in around them without anyone meaning to. A man stopped sweeping. A woman paused with her basket halfway to her arm. Someone muttered that a wife should stay with her husband. Someone else looked down at their boots like the ground had become interesting. No one yelled. No one stepped forward either. She leaned closer to him, her fingers catching the edge of his sleeve. "Please," she said, barely above a breath, "not loud, not here." The deputy waited. The man with the paper waited. The crowd waited. Silence pressed in from every side. It felt heavy, like hands on her shoulders, holding her in place. This was how it worked, not with ropes, with people choosing not to speak, with quiet agreement that let things keep going. Her voice broke the stillness. "I'm not going." It wasn't shouted. It didn't need to be. The words landed hard enough on their own. A few heads turned. Someone shifted their weight. The man stepped closer to her, smiling tight. He reached out like he had the right. That was the moment he crossed the line where everyone could see it. He moved then, not fast, not wild. He stepped between them and caught the man's wrist, peeling his fingers away one by one, calm, controlled, enough to stop it. No punch, no shouting, just a clear line drawn in the open. The street held its breath. What had been private was now public, and once something is seen, it can't be taken back. He reached inside his coat and pulled out folded papers, worn at the edges from being handled too much. He didn't wave them. He held them up where people could see. "This is the store ledger," he said. "Rope, bought last week, paid in cash." A voice cut in from the side. An older woman stepped forward, hands on her hips. "That writing isn't mine," she said. "Someone added it after." The crowd stirred, not loud, just uneasy. A boy near the livery swallowed hard and raised his hand like he wasn't sure he was allowed to speak. "I saw him buy it," he said. "New rope, from town, and his boot has a broken heel. I've seen the mark." Eyes dropped to the ground, to the prints, to the rope. The man's smile thinned. Words started coming faster, sharper. They didn't land the same anymore. Each lie bent under its own weight. Truth didn't rush. It stacked itself piece by piece until there was nowhere left to stand. A sheriff stepped forward then, older than the rest, his voice steady and flat. "That's enough." No one argued, not because he was loud, because he was final. He looked at her. "Do you want to go with him?" She shook her head once. The sheriff nodded like that settled it. "Then you're not going." He turned to the man. "We'll talk about the rope, and the marks, and who signed what." Cuffs came out. Not fast, not rough, just sure. The deputy stepped back, eyes unsure now. No one cheered, no one clapped. People only breathed again. Justice didn't feel like a win. It felt like the world clicking back into place, one small piece at a time.